You want to jump in then?
Yeah, go ahead.
I may not stay in that screen, so.
Okay, well, I will.
That's all right. All right, so yeah, my name is Adam Stolfout. I work in a place called Shoes and Feet down in Bellevue, which I'll tell you about. I brought gifts to give away to people who ask questions or answer my questions. That way, I feel like I'm a real dynamic speaker because you guys are really engaged. But really, I'm bribing you. But that's okay because I have children, and I'm okay with bribing. Not that you guys are kids, children, or anything. But I understand the power of bribery, so I'm going to give stuff away as we talk. So anyway, so I'm just going to jump into this. So I work at a place called Shoes and Feet, and I'm just going to give you a couple slides of history. This is the boring stuff, but I got to do it, so I'm sorry. Shoes and Feet is down in Bellevue. It's a store that's been around for 20 years. The family that owned it is the Ben Feltzen family, or they started it. It was founded by a guy named Joe Ben Feltzen. Joe was from Holland. He was a fifth-generation shoe cobbler. He used to repair shoes in Seattle, had while you wait repair shops. This picture we have up there was Joe's father's business in The Hague, where they used to drive around these little carts and pick up people's shoes and then repair them and bring them back to them. So they always have done like shoe repair, which was really cool. So they started the shoe store, and they've been doing it for 20 years. They originally started as a comfort casual shoe store, so like, leather shoes and things like that. And then they opened a running store 5 years ago, just kind of they had a overnight like check cashing business next door that went out of business, and they had like this empty spot, and they're like, well, let's open a running store, but they didn't really know what they're doing with it. And they hired me 3 years ago to kind of help grow and market that. My history is I'm originally from Minnesota. So those of you Seahawks fans, I just want to let you know that we know what pain is in football. You guys have no idea. I'm sorry you did not go to the playoffs this year, did not do well, but Minnesota Vikings fans know what pain is. So I'm from Minnesota. Like Nelson mentioned, I went to Princeton as an undergraduate, majored in religion of all things, so which is kind of very different than what I'm doing now, but it was very interesting at the time. And I always tell people when you're looking for a major, just do something you're interested in because you will actually show up for class, so which is good. After Princeton, I moved to Boston for a few years. Yes, I'm afraid to admit I did cheer for Tom Brady while I was there, so I know that's going to make me really popular here, but I have gifts, so forget what I said. I did a lot of entrepreneurial things. I helped to start a school called the Epiphany Middle School, so I did, it was kind of a private school for low-income children, and I was a teacher and athletic director there. Then I went on and worked for a religious nonprofit called the Unitarian Universalist Association, and then worked at Harvard running a conference and events center. So I was doing a lot of like education-based social nonprofit. Then I had a boss at Harvard who called me into his office one day and said, Adam, you're doing a real good job with your conference center. I think you need to go to business school. So here's the deal. You need to apply to go to business school, or I'm going to fire you, so you have to go to business school. So I said, well, I've got to go to business school. So I applied and got into a school called Babson College. Babson College is not as well known on the West Coast, but it's in Wellesley, Massachusetts. It is known primarily for entrepreneurship, and we'll talk a little bit about what that is. But that was why I went there, because I was interested in starting businesses and kind of the entrepreneurial spirit. So I went to Babson. After Babson, did a few other things, but primarily I worked for Puma, which is one of the footwear brands that has headquarters in Boston. And then I worked as a footwear product manager at New Balance. And then after that, I left that and started a small chain, 2 stores of specialty running stores in the Boston area called Bayside Runners. So, and I sold those to kind of have a big adventure and move out here with my wife and kids. So kind of the brief history of that. So it's, last 10 years is, 10, 15 years has been primarily in athletic footwear and stuff like that. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about some of my business philosophies, because I think it's important to illustrate that. So do you guys know what entrepreneurship is? Can someone define it? Someone define it. Some brave person that wants a pair of socks can raise their hand. I saw you shaking your head. Do you guys know entrepreneurship? Someone give me one definition. Anyone heard of it?
Ideas.
What do you think it is?
Yeah, starting your own business.
Right, starting your own business. It's primarily a lot of it starting a business. All right, so you get a pair of socks just for sitting in back. There you go. All right, so I almost took her head off with that sock. So for me, like an entrepreneur is one who really seeks opportunity and creates a viable solution for that opportunity. So there's a lot to that, but I think a lot of people, when they think about starting businesses, being involved in small businesses, they think about, those opportunities are going to drop into the lap. One day I'm something, and the next day I'm Taylor Swift, and there's no kind of in between, right? Where people who are entrepreneurs are always out there seeking opportunities. I mean, that's the way I look at the world, is really just to seek opportunities and see what's out there, but then also to create that viable solution. So it's not enough just to see all the problems in this world, but actually find solutions for it. And you can do that lots of ways. So this is, I understand it's kind of a career class, and so that's just my general advice on everything is, the best way to go through the world is just seeking those opportunities, no matter what, what kind of situation you're in, whether it's starting a business, being in a business, but always having that. But a lot of businesses fail. So a lot of businesses get started, fail. So what are some of the reasons why you guys think businesses fail? Stocks for businesses failing.
Misjudged market.
Is that misjudging market? That's a good one. Anything else?
Not enough customers.
Not enough customers. Why don't they have enough customers?
Because maybe the customers aren't interested in the business, or not interested in what they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any other kind of ideas? Anything?
There's not enough demand for the product.
Yeah, not enough demand. Yeah. Yeah. Those are all good things. So I have kind of 6 things I'm going to throw at you here. So this is mainly because I'm a marketer, so mainly from the marketing perspective. A lot of businesses fail because people don't know how to deal with money. So that's one that I'm not going to talk about today. But marketing-wise, the big one, this is kind of goes for everything, but not willing to put in the work. I have a lot of friends who have started businesses. Again, I went to an entrepreneurial business school. They all thought they could work. Business owners should work about 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., have a fancy Instagram feed, and be super popular and have a business. And that never works. So the first business that I opened up at Bayside Runner, I worked 7 days a week for a whole year. I took 4 days off. So, and that was, I never saw my wife and kids, for that time. Gary Hirschfield, who's the founder, you guys know Stonyfield Farms yogurt? You know what that is? He lived in a barn with no electricity for 7 years before he Stonyfield Farms, and he had a wife and kids. My wife has been interviewed by his wife for a book she wrote, and she talks about how that was super hard. So just number one.
That was the Northeast too, by the way.
Yeah,
so
where
we're
it's
not
actually
talking like
cold,
California
right?
or something.
It actually shows.
Other than that, not understanding the business context is huge. So we're going to go into that with the running world, but not understanding kind of where your competitors and not understanding kind of what's going on in the culture is really big. Not understanding your customers. We had customer kind of stuff, so not really truly having a defined customer set. Just kind of saying, well, I built this awesome shirt. I designed this awesome shirt. This shirt is so awesome that everybody should love my shirt that I designed, but not really knowing who you designed it for and then how to talk to that person. And then not having a clear mission, so not doing that. So again, kind of saying, I want to start a business. I want to start, you hear this, in my world a lot, when I talk to, especially younger people who are trying to start a career, what's your goal? It's I want to start an apparel brand. I want to start a footwear brand. It's well, what do you want to do? You got to have a mission for that. No one's going to respond to you if you just walk into the room and say, I've got this, I'm a footwear brand, right? No one even knows what that is. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I missed number 5, but it'll probably pop up in a second. Not constantly seeking opportunity we talked about. Not knowing how to reach the customer. So those are kind of the 6 that I'm going to talk about. So each one of my sections of my talk in terms of running business is going to kind of tap each one of those, except for that work one. I don't need to talk about that. So just work hard. So, all right, we're all clear on that, right? All right, so the running industry business context. So obviously it's really important to understand what's going on in the world. You'd be surprised how many people I meet with, even in the running world. I meet with a lot of people who design footwear. I was at Brooks just last week meeting with the person who's head of their trail running shoes. That person didn't have a clue what was going on in the wider world and was really failing to understand why she was having a hard time having those particular shoes she was overseeing selling, because she was just so focused on internally that she wasn't really understanding the big business context. So let's talk a little bit about where we shop and why, because I think that's a big thing. So where do you guys buy your shoes? Come on, this is the easiest pair of socks that anyone's gonna. Where do you buy your shoes?
These are great socks, by the way.
By the way, where do you buy your shoes? Where do you buy your shoes?
Costco.
Costco. That's one. That's good. Let's write that down. Good. See, look at that. I'm sorry, they're all larges, so you guys are gonna have to. All my so. Where else supposed to be buy shoes?
Amazon.
Amazon's one.
I buy them at Nike.
What's that at Nike? The Nike store. Right, Nike store, Amazon. Nike store. All right, so where else do we buy our shoes? Foot Locker is another good. Yeah, that's a great one of those popular things. Look at that, everyone's so into this classic. So what we do, like we're analyzing kind of like the, when we take a look at this, we want to understand this, each individual, we call them channels of trade. So each one individually, these would be in different channels of trade. You guys did a good job of picking out some, whether it's, kind of discount, slash, this can be kind of a big box, we call them big box stores. You have your internet retailers. Nike store, which is a branded, we call them direct-to-consumer retailers. And Foot Locker, which we call kind of mall-based footwear specialty. Footwear, sorry, I don't write well. And then there's places like, no one said shoes and feet, guys, come on. That's just gonna have to change, that's fine.
Who's seen this guy before?
All right, so shoes and feet, in which we call, they're called, basically referred to as specialty, businesses. So it's kind of to understand where, because the important part about understanding all these different, understand where they come from, is to understand kind of the qualities that each one has, and then to make sure that you're kind of aligning what you're trying to do with those qualities. So, when I think about how I define different types of footwear vendors, I kind of separate it by, this kind of quadrants of, on one axis you've got service, so meaning personal service, people at the store to help you, people who just kind of, get to know you, all that kind of stuff, and then selection, which is just the amount of stuff that you have. So you've got, so this, you've got like places like shoes and feet, right? We're not a big store. We only have probably about 3,000 square feet, so it's basically two of these rooms together. You can only have a certain amount of selection, but what we really strive for is high service. So everyone that comes in knows they're gonna have someone sit down with them, and they're gonna have someone measure their feet and talk about their feet and really spend a lot of time with them. The average time we spend with a customer, like when I'm doing a fitting, is like 45 minutes to an hour, where I'm watching them walk, I'm watching them run, recommending different products, talking about, the pain they're having. So it's real high service, and that's just one way to go, versus, the Amazons of the world up there where it's no service, right? I mean, the service is you get on and you self-serve, and, you get in there, but they have all the selection. And so what you get from that is lots of selection, but you're also navigating the waters on your own, which is one way to shop too. And I'm not, in telling you about these things, none of this is a judgment thing, because, as passionate as I am about small business and shoes and feet, if I worked for Amazon, I could make myself just as passionate about that. But these are, understanding where you are. So, if I'm a specialty store and I've got low selection, low selection, I also can't have low service, because then I'm not gonna get anywhere. So you kind of gotta make sure you kind of fit within your grid. There's lots of different ways to kind of slice and dice this. One thing you can see is that, so the athletic footwear, or specifically the running business, is about an $8 billion business a year. One thing that people have been saying for a lot of years is it's all going to the internet, right? Everyone's buying on the internet, right? People talk about buying on the internet. But right here, as you can see, 500 million is a small fraction, so that's what, 1/16 of the whole market is actually shopping online. So it's actually not true that people are shopping so much on the internet. People are shopping in stores. But stores are constantly getting squeezed, because on either end, either from selection or from service, they're getting squeezed. So places like Sports Authority, which had a moderate selection, I should have put Sports Authority down at the super low end of the service level, had no service, high prices, and moderate selection, and they're getting squeezed out of it, because they just didn't have a clear, defined kind of market of what they're doing. So, so this is one way we think about it. There's lots of ways to slice and dice it, but really to understand, when we, kind of make our business planning, how we're the same as some of these stores, how we're different. We're never going to have lots of selections, so we never allow ourselves in a small store to get talked into having too many shoes. We never let ourselves get talked into price wars because it doesn't help us at all. We really focus on what we're doing versus if you're Amazon, it's a totally different thing. Then you're talking price and you're talking volume and you're talking, let's get as much stuff, and it's a totally different type of job. So, but, so whatever industry you're in, you can kind of lay out all these grids any way you please. We can put price on there, we can put, brands you carry on there or whatever, but understanding kind of the relative size of your market and what the opportunity is good. Like I'm looking at this and I'm going like, for me, $500 million and Amazon's got a large portion of that. Is there really an opportunity for me as an entrepreneur to work, to kind of basically go against Amazon? People have tried, it doesn't work very well. It's a small piece of the pie with one big gorilla, versus specialty stores. There's $1 billion in sales in running shoes in specialty stores. Specialty stores, they average somewhere, between $1 million and $2 million in sales. So, if you do the math on that, there's a lot more space in the specialty world to kind of create an opportunity for yourself. And so that's the way I look at it is, you can really carve out a great niche in specialty because of how much is in there. That's a big $1 billion, is a lot of money, in shoes. Questions on that? Smart aleck remarks, anyone? I'm okay with that too. I will give socks for smart aleck remarks for sure. So this is actually a quiz that I'll give one for. So so when it comes to smaller specialty stores, anyone take a guess on the top brands, top few brands? It should be easy. You guys know shoe brands. Nike.
Adidas?
Adidas is, yeah. So we definitely not out. Nike is. So I'll tell you with Nike, that not all specialty stores will sell them, and we can talk about why. But Adidas too. Adidas, they're in there in the top. This is the top what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Top 7. So they're in there. Any more guesses on number 1?
Look at your shoes. Just read off brands.
Puma.
Puma could be in there.
New Balance.
Could be in there. Anyone? Any more guesses? You guys? Yes. You guys are devastated. You guys are missing super obvious, like local company. Well, pseudo local. It's owned by Warren Buffett in Omaha, but their headquarters is here. Yes. So let's look at the top. So Adidas comes in there at number 7, 3% of the market. Now, who said Brooks, by the way? Because that's going to be the number 1. I'm just going to give your stock. So, Hoka. Do you guys know what Hoka is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something like, it's a brand, so it's the fastest growing brand in my world, and a lot of people haven't even heard of it. It's a brand that makes over-cushioned shoes. It was started by a couple French ultramarathoners in Hawaii, so it's called Hoka Ane Ane. It stands for time to fly. But they're probably, right now, they're the hottest in all footwear channels. They're probably the hottest footwear brand. So even over Nike, they're growing much more. Nike's actually been contracting. They've been laying off lots of people. Nike number 3.
Hoka's what, 9 years old?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So they saw, they make big, overly cushioned shoes, and they saw an opportunity in that. No one else was doing it. Now, the guys who made it, they sold it to Deckers, and those 2 French ultramarathoners are doing pretty well. So, New Balance, New Balance is the number 2 worldwide brand, but in specialty stores is number 4. Saucony. Do you guys know Saucony yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people do. It's the East Coast running shoe brand. Asics, and then Brooks is your top brand by far. 10% market, 10% over the next one out. 25% of all the shoes sold in specialty stores is the Brooks brand. So it's kind of, so again, these are things to think about. As I think about, the selection of product in the stores, specialty stores, if 25+% of what goes out the door is a Brooks shoe, I better carry Brooks shoes, right? I actually don't carry Adidas. I don't need them, even though they're, in the top 3 or 4 worldwide for brands. You don't even need them in a specialty store. You don't need Nike. We only carry Hoka because they're growing fast and doctors like them a lot. So we're going to talk about medical referrals in a minute. But so you don't need Nike, you don't need these brands like Adidas. But if you're a big box store, this would be totally on its head, and then you'd have to understand that, make sure you're sorting it right. So depending on which channel of trade you're in, so if you're Amazon, you're everybody. But if you're choosing your channel of trade, if I were here and I was executive at Dick's Sporting Goods, I would be telling you we're buying Nike, we're buying Under Armour, we're buying, all these other, Brooks now there, but at a specialty store, Nike and Adidas, which everyone thinks of, I wouldn't even get anywhere near Yeezy, wouldn't help me at all. So, well, they did have a kid. I had a teenager come in with one last night. So next is kind of understanding the customer. So making sure you really, dive down and understand, who your customer is and what they mean to you. So we always joke about runners at Shoes and Feet is, there's a lot of, people are always coming in and they're saying, well, I need a pair of running shoes, but I'm not really a runner. So we always tell them a runner is a person who attempts to put one foot in front of the other faster than a walk. So that's what a runner is. So, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But the thing about runners is, so I always say this thing that the runner is disappearing. That true kind of runner that, when running shops really got big. So 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people started opening the first running stores, primarily catered to men, primarily catered to geeky guys. They'd sit around with their long beards and their shorty shorts and they'd talk running, and no women would go in the store because those guys are creepy. All that stuff. So it was totally different, and it was all about fast running and running marathons and all that. But that is totally going away. And so if you look at this participation number from 2015, these core runners, dropped a lot. There's still a lot of them, but the whole idea of like those like runners are just going away. The things that are going up are more niche things like trail runners, and then 5K runners, which are beginning runners. These are the people who come in the store and say, I'm not a runner. And then this is just some data here that about marathon finish times. So that line is kind of that your average finish time. So you can see as the years go, we're falling below that line. People are getting slower in their finish times because it's not because there's less maybe runners overall doing it, but there's less people who are those serious runners who are all about competition. It's about finishing. It's about getting the medal. It's about kind of feeling good in yourself, and it's not about the competitive aspect of it. And those folks anyway, so I like to call our runner customer the newbie runner, or I call them the runner with the little phonetic thing. We make t-shirts for them that say runner on them. And those are the people who they're just totally beginning. And the thing about them as a business is they're more open to suggestions. So runners, people like me and people, who are like the uber nerdy runners, they're shopping on Amazon. Those are the people that, so it'd be a total mismatch for me to be marketing to people who are not even shopping in my channel of trade. So what I do is, we don't even really market to runners. Obviously we help, but we have a new type, we try to develop our own runners. So because they're more open to suggestions and ideas. They're willing to spend the money and not ask for discounts. One thing about runners, we get a lot of these local running clubs, and the one thing that the local running clubs always do is really plug you for discount. They say, well, I'm a member of XYZ running club, and I should get a discount here because, just because you're a member of a club doesn't give you a right to a discount, but they believe that because they've always been catered to by running stores. The newbie runners really crave community, so they really want to be brought together and be in a public place where, again, the kind of the nerdy old school runner, guys like me, who are hiding somewhere, looking at Amazon.com and they're looking at Let'sRun.com message boards, and they're not really social people, where the newbie runner is a really social person. That's who we like, that's who we want, because they're going to keep coming back. And finally, they'll create referrals. They're the people that if you treat them right, they're going to send all their friends, and we see that a lot. So as opposed to, like the kind of standard runner is, you may give them a deal, and then they're going to go tell their friend, like, just make sure they give you a deal, and then you're losing money, which you don't want to do. The goal is not to lose money in your business. The goal is to actually make money. So we really define our core running customer as that newbie runner. So that's half of my job is to really focus on these people and create programs and stuff for them, whether it's training groups or fun events. We just got done with something called the Winter Warrior Challenge, where we had an app people could log into, and every day they'd log their run or walk, and if you ran or walk at least 1 mile a day outside, you got the designation of Winter Warrior in January, and then we made a t-shirt with everybody's name on the back, and we had 500 people sign up for that, and it was a really awesome contest. The other one we have, because we're a specialty store, is our medical referral business. So what a medical referral business is basically, part of my job beyond the marketing is also to be a footwear biomechanist. So, I've spent a lot of time, I've built shoes for New Balance, I've been in the testing labs, I've done kind of extensive biomechanical studies and stuff like that. So, one of the things I do is, I'm kind of like an unlicensed biomechanist in a way. A lot of running store guys and women are, that's what we do. And so we work directly with doctors to get the doctors to send us their customers. So it's a completely different type of marketing. So we go to the doctors and we ask them, hey, you've got people who are hurting, their feet hurt, their legs hurt, send them to us, and we'll come up with shoes and we'll figure that out. So those come directly from doctors. They make up 60 to 70% of new business. So that's where we drive our new business from. They have a higher rate of items per transaction, and dollars per transaction, so that's things that we get. So again, that kind of general consumer that walks in your door, maybe they'll buy a pair of shoes, maybe they're gonna try, they know you're a specialty store, they're gonna try to get a discount from you, where these folks come in and they really need the help, and because we give them great service, they're willing to pay for that, so we, and it's not that we're trying to take advantage of them at all, and that, we just educate people, we help them, and they're happy to spend that money, because they know what we give them out of that. And so, if you look at the average items per sale, dollars per sale, the medical referral is so great, and it's kind of a dying art with specialty stores, which is frustrating. They buy higher margin products. So margin is the difference between what you pay at wholesale. So if I buy a shoe from Brooks for $60, I have to sell it in the store for $120 because Brooks says that's what the suggested retail price is. I'm not allowed to sell it for anything less. And that difference is the margin, but that margin goes to us keeping our business alive because we have to pay our employees, pay our rent, and all that stuff. And so we want people who will buy a higher margin product. And so, that's what this medical referral business is. It's all about higher margin product. They're less likely to shop online because they want to have that service. And most of our marketing time is not even public. You wouldn't even know I was doing this, but I spent a lot of time just going to doctors. I mean, that's my job. The other half of my job as a runner is I walk into doctors' offices, introduce myself, and start trying to impress them as much as I can with big fancy medical words so they think I know what I'm talking about there. But we try to get them to send people in, and again, they'll create a referral business, and that's really important to us, is to make sure that we create, have customer experience that's so good and so great. Not only that customer will come back, but then they'll leave and say, hey, this place was so awesome. Yes, I know they're full price. Yes, I know you can't sit on your couch and drink a beer and order, shoes while you're doing that, but it's just so awesome anyway, and that's the kind of experience we're trying to create. It's totally different. If you haven't been to like a specialty store and got fit, whether it's our store, there's a bunch of other ones, you just go, and the real good ones, you just kind of go like, wow, they just blow you away with what they know, and that's what we're trying to do. So we have two defined, distinct customers that we work with. And then having a clear mission. And I put up, do you guys know who Tony Robbins is at all? He's like super corny motivational speaker. It costs like $10,000 to see him, so don't pay that kind of money. So I'm just gonna give you his quotes. But he's really good about, he talks a lot about, having a why. So you gotta find something that matters more than yourself. Motive does matter. Motive brings energy. How is not as important as why or what. If you have to ask yourself, how am I gonna do it? Most people won't. That's what the leader does. What is the result I'm gonna produce? And more importantly, why? If you get a big enough why, you can do anything. And that is super important. When I used to work in church, way before I went to business school, I used to work with Unitarian churches. Do you guys know what Unitarian churches are? Like Unitarian Universalists. It's small, kind of liberal Protestant religion, and they just like by and large have like almost no clear message on what they're doing, and then they wonder why no one shows up, right? So like why, like with Nike, like think about Nike, like what's Nike's big? Do you get like their big marketing? Just do it, right? Everyone can say simple as that. If you call up anyone who loves Nike in the middle of the night and you say, what do you love about Nike? You'd probably be like, just do it, that's how powerful those things are. And so, what people think of having a mission, so again, going back to those churches, one of that is they write a mission statement, right? And I see this with a lot of new businesses, and I see this with people I've consulted with lots of different companies. I have a whole other career that's business consulting, and you see this a lot, and I say, what's your mission? And they hand me this piece of paper, it's like about this long, here's our mission, and here's our vision, and here's da-da-da-da-da-da-da, blah, 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 blah. So, you know, because they're just writing words on paper. So I always think, again, what your mission should be is, if I called you up, you know, in the middle of the night, or if I called you up like this young lady, and asked for the mission, you should be so pumped about it that you would be able to say in one sentence what it is. I mean, could you, I don't know if you, whether that's your job or your life. I mean, if you really like think about it, you know, so you know, now or go home and really give some thought. Like, if I had to call you up in the middle of the night and said, what was your motivating purpose for being? What was your motivating purpose for living? Could you distill that down to a sentence that made you excited as her dancing around, you know? So, and you need that. You have to have that if you're going to be successful. The people who I know again that are not successful, who have started running stores or started other businesses, I mean, they just don't have that clear mission. You know, they just want to have a business and, you know, go home on the weekends and play golf. So, so what, you know, what's our clear mission? What's my clear mission as somebody who works at Shoes and Feet, what I've done in my life? You know, I mean, if you call me up in the middle of the night, I'm going to tell you I changed customers' lives. As parents, that's, you know, and it seems super corny and super cliche, but for me, it's super powerful and super motivating. So, you know, whether that's, and that can be a lot of examples. So, you know, from small things, like, you know, we have these boots, we had these boots last year, tall, fashionable women's boots. They had an elastic back to it. I had a woman who, a little bit bigger woman, her calves are really big, could never wear a boot like that because she never fit into any of them. And she literally was in tears when she wore them. You know, to me, when I think about it, it just gets me like so excited because, you know, just the fact that I was able to deliver a product that made someone feel so good about themselves and it was so powerful to their lives makes me feel like I've done something. I go home to my kids and be like, you know, I helped this person today. And the same thing with, you know, my runners, you know. So these are some of the people that I've worked with over the last couple of years. So this is Tiana. Tiana, I met her about 2.5 years ago. She joined the first running group and she signed up as our beginner's 5K course. And she goes, look, she's like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I only wear jeans. Like, I don't have running shoes. I don't have running clothes. You know, her self-esteem was really bad. You know, it was, you know, I mean, it was a project, you know. But she has joined every single running program that I've put on in the last 2.5 years. And you should, I mean, you see her now. I mean, she is, you know, she doesn't run a long way. She does like 5K, 5-mile races, but she is at everything. And that picture's from us volunteering together at a trail race. You know, her confidence is through the roof. And she tells everybody about the store. She sends people to the store. She spent over $1,000 last year at the store herself because she was so motivated about, you know, what we did for her. So those are the kind of people that we're trying to create. And that, you know, when I go home and